Okay, good afternoon all. I just remembered something that happened uh, one of the days when I was a banker. And I want to just illustrate something I want to pass across to every one of us now who probably where you work, you're going through one kind of intimidation or the other to, breast up on what you need to do. So I want to talk about not just standing by the truth, but also having documentary evidence of what the truth that you stand by. And I'll give you a typical instance. I remember the name of the guy who really taught us, to arm ourselves while I was a staff of Falls State Trust Bank many years ago, Terry Ode, at the training school, I say World Center. He was the one who taught us that whatever you're doing in your career as a banker, if there's an important memo circulating, keep a private file for yourself where you arm yourself so that your superiors will not tomorrow just sacrifice you for nothing, because it happens. And he also cited a typical example of how an executive director would have just marched on him, thrown him under the bus, except that he fortified himself, not just by standing by the truth, but also having documentary evidence of the truth he stood by. So I had my own experience. What he taught us at the training school, I imbibed. Throughout my years as a career banker, I was a branch manager 12 years ago. I left banking many years ago. I armed myself adequately. I kept personal files as a credit officer and as a branch manager. So, one particular occasion when I was a branch manager, the head of legal of the bank was frustrating all my efforts, as it were. He wouldn't respond to mails, he wouldn't respond to calls. He was just messing up the whole work. And you're running around trying to get the customer, give him a credit and boost your, bottom line and stuff like that. But somebody up there is messing you up. And he wasn't just messing me up, he was just grossly incompetent as far as I'm concerned. It was messing up, branch managers all over the country. So one particular day, there was this thread of discussion on him about legal. And people were saying all kinds of things, but I got so offended, I was so frustrated, I just said, we have no head of legal in this bank. And it went boom! It went bank-wide. Everybody read it. MD, everybody read it. So it wasn't quite long. My regional head, I spoke with him 2 days ago. Both of us are off banking. If he watches this, he'll be able to also corroborate. Rang me on the phone and said, hey, what did you do? What did you do? Call him and apologize and retract that statement. Call him and apologize, retract that statement. I sat down, I said, okay, retract the statement. What I said was the truth. If I retract it, then this guy is going to pounce on this information to, destroy my career, as it were. And I said, no, I wasn't going to retract it because I knew what I said was the truth. So I stood by it. The next day, I got a call from Internal Control Headquarters. You are being investigated. Would you like to take questions here on phone, or we send you a memo and then you respond? I said, send me a memo. Don't ask me verbal questions. Send me a memo, whatever you want. I'll be able to respond. So they sent me a memo. I made a comment like this against the head of legal and stuff like this. What do you have to back up your claim and stuff like that? There's a colleague of mine, if she watches this video right now, she will also corroborate because we work together to be able to answer that memo. So I went back to my private file and got the pieces of evidence I had against the head of legal. 2 stood out. There was this lawyer in Aba that didn't exist, that they briefed for one case or the other. And everybody was searching for this lawyer at their address. It didn't exist, but they had paid the lawyer. And we were writing memos up and down, and he ignored it. There was this other customer in Umuahia. They had debited him over 300 and something thousand for perfection. 6 months later, there was no perfection. Nothing was done. And we had written and written and written, nothing was done. So I pulled out the memos, not just one, I pulled all of them out and all the discussions, and then attached and sent back to the guy who was investigating me on behalf of the head of legal, who was, infuriated and was planning what to do to deal with me. But I stood on the side of truth. I also had documentary evidence of the truth that I stood by. So I answered the query, attached every document, and sent back to the guy in Lagos. That was the end of the investigation. They went and told him that, look, if you push this thing further, you're finished. Because it was clearly a case of fraud. He had debited for that perfection, but the money didn't go to the coffers of Abia State government. And he had, handed over a brief to a lawyer that never existed and had paid him, and that was it. So they didn't get back to me again. The next, it was that same evening, I guess it was that same evening as I was going back to my house. I was just climbing the staircase. I got a call from the head of legal. He said, bro, we are brothers. We are not fighting, we are not fighting. It's not as if we have a misunderstanding. Just forget everything, forget everything. We are not fighting, we are brothers. That was the end of the matter. I was standing on the side of truth, but I had evidence of the truth that I was standing by. If I had the truth alone and there was no evidence to back it up, he would have messed me up. He would have sacked me from the bank. You know what the head of legal of a bank is? With over 100 branches, a man who sits with the MD, CEO, and all the executive directors in all meetings, and then you just make that kind of a statement that you went bank-wide, that there's no head of legal in this bank. A small branch manager. But that was the end of that investigation. He called it off because I was appropriately armed. My colleague will corroborate this if she watches this video. So, wherever you are, your superiors are sitting on you, arm yourself with the truth. But arm yourself also with evidence, if possible, documentary evidence. Otherwise, they will throw you under the bus. They will throw you under the bus and sacrifice you, and you'll be the fall guy, and they will keep cruising. Look at what happened in Saudi Arabia about Khashoggi. The king's son is still there, but they have taken the fall guys, but they took orders from him. But they can't fight it. So whatever you're doing, wherever you're walking, whatever you're going through, you're standing on the side of truth. The world does not like people, or the world does not like truth. And they don't like people who stand by the truth. But whatever you are standing by, as long as it is the truth, try and back yourself up with some evidence. If possible, documentary evidence. You'll be able to scale through at the end of the day. It just came to my mind now. That guy, that head of legal, he wasn't quite long. He left the bank. Whether he was asked to leave, I don't know. Or whether he left on his own, I don't know. But I know he left. I survived him in that bank because I did not only say the truth, I stood by the truth by backing up what I said. If they had continued with the investigation, the pit he was digging for me, he would have fallen into it because I had the evidence that he committed fraud. Just that I didn't want to call it that. God bless you.